The old woman dropped a letter on the bus. What the stranger read changed his life. Human kindness, chance encounters, legacy. I remember that afternoon like it's carved into my mind. The hum of the city, the low hiss of the bus doors, and the smell of rain that clung to everyone's coats. It was one of those gray days where the sky looks tired, as if it's carrying the same weight everyone else is. I had just finished another long day at the office. Paperwork, fake smiles, meaningless meetings, the usual. I sat down in the middle row of the bus, earbuds in, trying to drown out the world. That's when she stepped on. An old woman, maybe late 70s, wrapped in a faded blue coat and a knitted scarf that looked handmade. She carried a small tote bag pressed close to her chest, as if it held something precious. The driver helped her up the steps, and she thanked him with a warm smile, the kind that felt almost too gentle for this world. She sat 2 seats ahead of me, by the window. I noticed her gloved hands trembling slightly as she fumbled through her bag. She pulled out a worn envelope, yellowed at the edges, with a bit of ribbon tied around it. She held it for a long time, tracing the handwriting on the front. Then the bus jolted. The letter slipped from her hand, fluttering down the aisle, landing right at my feet. I bent down and picked it up. The paper was soft, delicate, like it had been read 100 times. I glanced at the name written in careful cursive. To my son Daniel, for when you're ready. The old woman didn't notice it had fallen. She was staring out the window, lost in thought. "Ma'am," I said, leaning forward. "You dropped this." She turned, startled. Her eyes were cloudy but kind. "Oh dear, thank you, young man." I handed it to her and she clutched it close again. "I can't seem to keep hold of things lately," she said softly, with a small laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. I smiled politely, then sat back down. But something about that letter, that title, lingered in my mind. For when you're ready, it sounded like something meant to wait, something unfinished. As the bus rumbled along, I couldn't help glancing at her reflection in the window. She wasn't just old, she looked lonely. The kind of loneliness that seeps into your bones. The kind that comes from missing someone for too long. Halfway through the ride, she pressed the stop button and slowly made her way to the door. I noticed she was still holding the letter tightly in one hand, but just as she stepped off, the doors closed too quickly. And the letter slipped again, this time onto the bus floor. "Wait," I called, but the driver had already pulled away. I picked it up, waving out the window, but she was already lost in the crowd, a small figure swallowed by the city. I looked down at the envelope again. It was slightly bent now, but intact. My first instinct was to hand it to the driver, maybe turn it in at Lost and Found. But then I thought about how fragile she looked, how easily she might never make it back to claim it. And something deep in me, something I hadn't felt in years, told me to read it. I hesitated for a long time, turning the envelope in my hands. Then, finally, I untied the ribbon and slid the letter out. The handwriting was shaky but full of emotion. It read, "My dearest Daniel, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. And that's all right. You've carried my memory long enough. I only hope you remember that I never left you angry. I just wanted you to find your way back, even if it took a lifetime. I've kept every postcard you sent from the road, the ones that said you were fine, even when I knew you weren't. I still have the drawing you made at 6 years old, the one where you said I was your hero. I wish I had been. I'm sorry for the day you left. I shouldn't have said what I did. Pride is a foolish thing, and I carried mine too long. You were right. Love shouldn't have conditions. If this letter ever finds you, please remember this. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about opening the door again, even if it hurts. You were never a disappointment, my boy. You were just lost, like I was once, and maybe that's why I always believed you'd come home. With all my love, always. Mom, I read it twice, maybe 3 times. By the end, my throat felt tight. There was no address, no phone number, nothing but that name, Daniel. I folded it carefully and stared out the window. Rain streaked down the glass, blurring everything outside. But inside me, something sharp and clear was rising. Something that had been buried for years, because my name was Daniel. I froze. My heart began to race. Of course, it wasn't written to me, and it couldn't be. But seeing my own name on that page, paired with words like forgiveness and come home, it felt personal. It felt like it had been waiting for me too. For years, I'd been estranged from my father. We hadn't spoken since the night I told him I was quitting the family business to become a writer. He called me a fool. I called him worse. That was 5 years ago. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I was fine. But that night, reading that letter from a stranger, I realized I hadn't been fine at all. It felt like the universe had chosen that bus, that moment, that letter, to remind me of something I'd tried to bury. The next day, I went back to the same bus route, same time. I waited and waited. But she didn't come. I rode that bus 3 days in a row, always with the letter tucked inside my jacket pocket, hoping I'd see her again. The driver recognized me eventually. "You looking for someone?" he asked. "An old woman," I said. "Blue coat, white scarf." He frowned, thinking. "Yeah, I know who you mean. Sweet lady. Rides every Wednesday around 4. Always asks to stop near the church." That gave me hope. So the next Wednesday I was there, 4 o'clock sharp. Sure enough, she climbed aboard, slower this time, her steps more uncertain. I moved immediately to the seat beside her. "Ma'am," I said gently, "I think this belongs to you." I handed her the letter. Her eyes widened, not in surprise but in confusion. "Oh," she whispered. That's strange. I thought I mailed this years ago." Her voice trembled. "Did you read it?" I hesitated. "I did. I'm sorry. I just wanted to find you." She smiled faintly. "Then maybe you were meant to." We sat in silence for a while, the bus engine humming beneath our feet. Finally, she said softly, "My Daniel's gone. Passed away last winter. Heart failure. I never got to say goodbye." Her words hit me like a quiet storm. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. She nodded. "He never read that letter." "I wrote it when he left home. Thought it would help me forgive him, even if he never came back." I swallowed hard. The weight of her sadness, her acceptance. It was overwhelming. She looked at me with eyes that had seen too much life and too much loss. But maybe it wasn't meant for him anymore. Maybe it was meant for someone who needed to hear it. And in that moment, I realized she was right. That letter wasn't just her farewell. It was a message about every broken relationship, every unspoken apology, every chance we think we've lost. She smiled one last time and said, "If you've got someone you need to forgive, son, don't wait until it's too late." The bus slowed for her stop near the church. She stood steadying herself on the rail. Before stepping off, she turned and said, "Take care, Daniel." And just like that, she was gone again, swallowed by the rain. But this time, I didn't feel the need to chase her, because I knew what I had to do next. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her words. Don't wait until it's too late. The city lights flickered through my apartment window as I sat staring at my phone. My father's number was still saved there, even though I hadn't dialed it in 5 years. Every time I hovered my thumb over it, a flood of memories came back. The arguments, the slammed doors, the silence that stretched into years. I told myself I was over it. But reading that old woman's letter had cracked something open. The truth was, I missed him. And I hated that I missed him. Finally, after what felt like hours, I hit call. The dial tone rang once, twice, then a voice, weak, older, but unmistakably his. "Hello?" For a second, I couldn't breathe. My throat tightened. "Dad," I said softly. There was silence. A long, fragile silence. Then, "Daniel?" "Yeah," I whispered. "It's me." He exhaled slowly, the kind of sound that carries both relief and regret. "Son, I didn't think I'd ever hear your voice again. I wasn't sure I'd ever call again," I admitted. The line went quiet again, except for the faint hum of air between us. Finally he said, "How have you been?" It was such a simple question, but it nearly broke me. "I've been surviving," he chuckled softly. "You sound like your old man." Something in me cracked, a laugh, a sob, maybe both. "I'm sorry, Dad," I blurted out. "For walking away." For everything I said that night. His voice trembled. "No, Daniel. I'm the one who should have apologized first. I should have listened. You just wanted to live your life, and I made it about pride." I felt tears burning behind my eyes. "I read a letter today," I said, "from a mother to her son. She wrote about forgiveness, and I think it was meant for me." He didn't respond right away, but I could hear him breathing, steady but strained. "Then maybe you should listen to her," he finally said. "Because forgiveness, that's all I've ever wanted too." We talked for almost an hour that night. Awkwardly at first, then slowly with the kind of warmth I thought was gone forever. We didn't fix everything. Some things can't be fixed in a single call, but something shifted. When I hung up, I felt lighter. Not happy exactly, but free. A few weeks passed. Life began to feel different, quieter, calmer. I started writing again, something I hadn't done in years. Stories about loss, love, and second chances. Stories that felt real. But one rainy Thursday, I decided to take the bus again. The same route. The same time. Maybe I thought I'd see her again. The bus was nearly empty that day. The usual rush hour chaos was replaced by the soft hum of rain against the windows. I took my old seat in the middle and watched the city blur past. But she didn't come. When we reached the stop near the church, I got off. Something pulled me there, an instinct maybe. The small church sat at the corner of 2 quiet streets, its white paint peeling but its bell still shining. I stepped inside. The air was cool and still, filled with the faint scent of old candles. A few people sat in the pews, heads bowed in prayer. And near the front, on a wooden stand, was a table covered in flowers and small notes. A framed photo stood among them, the old woman in her blue coat smiling gently. I froze. The note below her picture read, "In loving memory of Margaret Lewis, 1944-2023. A mother, a friend, a gentle soul who believed every act of kindness finds its way home." My heart sank. She'd passed away. A church volunteer noticed me standing there and walked over. "Did you know Mrs. Lewis?" she asked kindly. I nodded slowly. "I met her once. On a bus." The woman smiled. "That sounds like her. She rode that bus every Wednesday. Always said she liked watching strangers go home. She said it reminded her that we're all just finding our way somewhere." I swallowed hard, fighting the lump in my throat. "She was carrying a letter," I said quietly. "To her son." The volunteer's expression softened. "Yes, she used to tell everyone about that letter. Said she'd written it for her boy Daniel. He left home years ago. She never stopped believing he'd find it somehow." Tears blurred my vision. "Did she ever find him?" I asked. The woman shook her head. "No, but she said she trusted that life would deliver the message where it needed to go." I stood there, staring at the photograph. Her soft eyes, that calm smile. It hit me then. Maybe she had found her Daniel after all. Just not the one she'd written to. Maybe that letter had been passed to me for a reason. To help two broken hearts find their way back to each other. When I left the church, the rain had stopped. The sky was painted in soft pinks and oranges, the kind of quiet sunset that feels like an apology. I walked home that evening feeling different, like I'd just witnessed something holy. That night, I called my dad again. "I went to a church today," I said. "There was this woman. She reminded me of Mom." He was silent for a moment. Then he said, "You sound peaceful, son." "I think I finally am," I said. "I just wanted you to know, and I forgive you. And I hope you can forgive me too." He cleared his throat, voice breaking. "Always have, Daniel, always." Months passed. My life began to take shape again. I published my first short story online, inspired by a chance encounter on a rainy bus. It went viral overnight. People wrote messages saying it made them call their parents or forgive old friends, or write letters they'd been too afraid to send. It wasn't fame I felt that day. It was purpose. I kept the original letter framed on my desk, the edges yellow and the ink fading. Every time I looked at it, I remembered that moment, that old woman, and what she unknowingly gave me. The courage to love again, to forgive, to live. Sometimes I ride that bus still, watching strangers come and go, each carrying stories I'll never know. And once in a while, when someone drops something, a note, a photograph, a crumpled receipt, I pick it up carefully, because you never know what message the universe is trying to send you. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Tale Story House for more stories that remind us of the quiet power of kindness and forgiveness.